Okay, Al, we're gonna do an interview, and we're on camera now. And I wanted to welcome you to this interview with the Kern Veterans Oral History Project. So today's date is October 4th, 2012, and we're here at American Sound Recording Studios. The name of the person we're interviewing is Mr. Al Lomas.
Right.
And Al, can you tell us your birth date?
It's March of 42, February the 12th, 1942. That's the...
Wait, let's see, that might be different.
Oh, that's when I went in the service.
That might, yeah, so that's when
Oh,
you went in. What was your date of birth?
It's February the 12th, 1924.
February 12th, 1924.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then my name is Dick Taylor. I'm the interviewer, and we also have Grant Simpson, that's the cameraman. So you served in World War II,
Yeah.
Al, and you were in the Navy.
Navy.
Okay. And what was the highest rank you attained when you were
Boatswain mate, second class.
boatswain mate, second class? And where specifically did you serve in World War II?
Well, when I went into service, we was in the boot camp for about 4 weeks, I think. And then
And where was that?
San Diego.
I'm San Diego, okay.
And from there, we went to San Francisco, and they put us on a transport. And we went to Espiritu Santos and New Maya. That's about 400 or 500 miles from Guadalcanal.
Okay.
That was just about a week after they invaded Guadalcanal.
And what type of ship was that one?
On that, it wasn't a ship. We was on called a Cub 13, and we was put there to replace any injured sailors that were injured during
Sure.
the conflict.
And so what, would you call it a Cub 13?
Cub 13.
And what type of vessel is that?
It wasn't a vessel. We was stationed on this island.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
is that an initial, does that stand for something?
I imagine it does, but
Okay.
I don't know what.
Okay, okay. So this was the unit that you were on the island near
Yeah,
Guadalcanal?
yeah.
Okay. And what was the name of the island again?
Espiritu Santos.
Espiritu Santos?
It's part of New Caledonia.
Okay. It's part of the New Caledonia chain.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha, okay. Geography coming back in there again. And so, when you were thinking of going in the service, and I'm guessing you either enlisted or were drafted.
I enlisted.
You enlisted, okay. And so when you went in, were you do you remember back like then, were you wanting to go in because some of your buddies were, or you just thought it'd be something good to do, or you just didn't want to get left behind, or were you just, what were your thoughts at that time?
Well, you shouldn't ask me that. Well, a bunch of us guys were standing around talking, and we all decided, well, let's go join the Navy. And I said to myself, well, my mother will never sign that paper for me to join the Navy. So I said, yeah, let's go. So we all got the papers, and I took it home, and I says, hey, Mom, you want to sign this for me? And I want to join the Navy. Sure, give me the paper. I would have swore she wasn't going to sign it.
You were convinced she wouldn't, and she jumped at it.
So that's how I got in.
Funny. And you were what, about 19 at the
I
time?
was 18.
You were
I was
18.
17.
17 years old, and your
I
mom
just
went ahead
turned-
and,
I
that's
was
why
just-
your mom had to sign
Yeah.
it, because you were underage.
You're right. Yeah.
Funny. And so that's funny how you sort of picked that you just kind of decided you were going to go in that branch of the armed forces.
Well, it was, they all wanted to go in the Navy, and
All your other
I
friends.
guess seeing that they bombed Pearl Harbor and all that, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. And then where were you living at that time that you joined?
Here in Bakersfield.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you go to schools here?
Yeah, I went to Bakersfield High.
Nice, nice. And then, what do you recall about when you went to boot camp down in San Diego? Do you remember any of your like instructors or any of those people that when you went through there or went up to San Francisco?
The only guy I remember in boot camp was the one that we stayed together for quite a while. Is a guy from Tehachapi. His name was Eddie Hobbrick, and he was the only one that I remember from boot camp.
Right, right. And did you ever keep tabs of whatever happened to him during the war?
We got split up when we come back to the States from Cub 13. we were all put on different ships, and he was on the Johnston, and she was sunk in the Philippines, and he went down with her.
And tell me again about Cub 13. This was a unit whose mission was to evacuate people that were wounded?
No, we were to replace anybody that was hurt.
Okay,
But the
okay.
ships were hit so bad that they had to send the ships back, so there was no reason to use this. While we were there, we were running boats, transporting cargo from the ship to the beach.
Okay.
Because there was no piers there.
Right.
So that's what we done.
So how far off of Guadalcanal was
400 or
Espiritu
500
Santo?
miles.
About how far?
400 or 500 miles.
Okay, and the transportation from Guadalcanal to there, I mean, how long did that take? How long of a trip was that?
I really don't know.
Okay,
How long
okay.
it was.
And it was typically by ship, not by air, when they would transport them?
Yeah, well, it would be by ship.
By
yeah,
ship,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
And then ships were coming in there. They had the Curtis seaplane tender that was stationed right there, because there was a little harbor in there.
Okay,
And that when a ship got hurt or somebody got hurt, they had a hospital unit there. And then on the other side of the island, they had a B-17 landing strip for them.
nice. And so what was your specific job title when you served in the Navy?
I was handling boats.
Okay, so I know you got up to the rank, you were telling me earlier, you got to be a boatsman mate,
Yeah.
second class.
Yeah.
So what did that entail, where you did boats? I mean, were you in charge of boats? What did that
I was
mean?
in charge of, well, like when I was on the ship, I was in charge of what they call second division. And that takes care of the boats that we have on the ship. And that takes care of that division, all them guys that were in that division.
Okay,
They were under me, and I had to take care of seeing that the ship on that side of my side of the ship, when we were in the harbor, was painted and kept clean, and
okay.
anything that went wrong with that part of the ship, they'd come to me.
That was your
That was
baby.
mine,
And
right.
and so what were these boats used for? What did they use those boats for?
Well, on the ship, they used the boats to transport the guys for liberty.
Okay, so this would be like if the ship couldn't pull up to a pier, if the ship anchored out a little ways, these boats would go
They'd
ashore
anchor,
and back.
and then we'd
Okay,
boat them to the beach.
and of course they had engines in them.
Yeah,
the boat, okay,
yeah.
all right. And so what do you remember? Like when you were there, and I can remember my late father served in that neck of the woods in World War II, and he obviously passed away. So, do you remember one of the things I remember when he and I talked? We talked about the smells you might remember, or the sounds you remember when you were stationed there. Do you have any recollection of like any of the smells or fragrances or sounds that you heard when you were stationed there, like engine sounds or that type of thing?
Well, when I was on the ship, my bunk was back aft, and you could hear that screws turning and making a lot of noise. But 2 weeks later, you didn't hear nothing.
You never paid it after that. After a while, you just kind of
forget it. Yeah.
you just kind of don't see it. So when you were during the time that you served, what would you ever say was ever the most impressive piece of equipment or weaponry that you ever saw that the United States had?
Let's see.
Or for that matter, even the Japanese.
No, I don't.
Like on the ships, I mean, were you ever like some of the boats that you served with, was there a particular type of equipment that was particularly impressive?
Well, what impressed me was when we was in this Cup 13, and I told you we was handling boats.
Uh-huh.
They had a boat called a Higgins boat.
A Higgins boat.
Yeah.
And that's like an amphibious type.
You're right, and that was one of the finer boats that they had. Yeah. And I was fortunate to be a coxswain on one of them for a while. And
So what is a coxswain's job on a
coxswain's
Higgins
job
boat?
was to maneuver the boat.
So you're driving
I
it?
was in charge of the boat, and the boats usually had the coxswain, and then they had the engineer, and then they had one guy to take care of when you pull alongside the dock to get it and hold it there while you.
And would they and how many people would that Higgins boat carry?
Three or four people.
Okay.
Well, yeah, 3 or 4. They would be
That would be the crew.
The coxswain, and then they had a gunner on the port side and a gunner on the starboard side.
And they had machine gun mounts on
Yeah,
those?
they had machine gun mounts on there.
And were those
then,
50
the stern guy that handled the lines.
Okay, and were those 50 caliber machine guns, or do you remember what those
Yeah,
were?
50 caliber.
Okay. And did those carry troops or?
Yeah, they were
okay.
troop carriers.
And those were typically Marines?
That's where the
They had a ramp that
ramp
went
went
down?
down the middle, yeah.
Okay. And so, when you were serving in a coxswain on one of those, during the times you did that, did you have times when you transported Marines or soldiers ashore or to a location?
Yeah, when we were there at Espiritu Santos, we would bring some sailors and some Marines ashore there, but we never did get to do it at Guadalcanal.
Okay. And so, did you guys, and when you were doing that, or either there or any of the other locations you were at over there, did you were you fired upon, or was there a threat that you guys were going to be fired upon or bombed or anything like that?
When we were where?
On any of those, like on the Higgins boat or any of those boats that you were on?
No, we were never fired on.
Okay, but was there, like when you slept at night, where did you, when you were ashore, where did you live or where did you sleep?
We slept in a tent, just like the Marines.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And you sleep on like a bunk, or was it on the ground?
Yeah, it was
or-
a bunk. Yeah.
Okay. And then, what was the weather like?
Hot.
Okay.
And when it rained, it really rained.
We don't know rain around
remember
here.
that.
Yeah. And was there vegetation? I mean, were there trees and things like that?
Oh, yeah. We had a place they cleared off for us to put our tents in that, and right after that, there was jungle. Thick jungles.
And at nighttime, did you get pretty sound sleep at nighttime?
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't bad. Yeah,
Okay.
we slept pretty good.
And so, so did you have any of your friends or shipmates or guys you served with, either on the Higgins boats or any of those that you ever later on learned that they maybe didn't make it, they were killed or anything like that?
Oh, there was quite a few of them.
Guys that
Yeah.
you served with? And-
Yeah, most of the guys that I went to service with, that from what I understand, they were killed or they were wounded. Yeah.
So some of them probably ended up going to Guadalcanal or one of those islands or
Yeah,
things
part
like
of them did. Yeah, because they had. We was in the service already when they invaded Guadalcanal.
Sure.
In August the 8th.
Okay. And that was 1940?
42.
Okay. And then do you have any particular experiences or episodes that stick out in your mind that you always kind of remember, that you kind of mull over in your brain, that it's certain events that happened that you always kind of remember?
Yeah, I had one.
Like what one was that?
We was with 58.1, that's aircraft carriers, and that's when kamikazes were attacking us. And
Okay.
this one plane, it was a Betty, it was 2-engine job.
A Betty is a Japanese
That's
bomber?
a Japanese plane, a 2-engine. And it was coming right at us and everybody was shooting at it. And I was on a first loader on a 40 millimeter, a midship.
And a 40 millimeter is an anti-aircraft
That-
gun?
Yeah, there
Okay.
are 2 barrels in it.
The ones that go like this?
You're right,
Okay.
right, yeah. And when that plane was coming at us, I could see the pilot. And all of a sudden, I guess they hit him. And when they hit him, the plane went like that, and it hit, the wing hit right at midship, but it hit between the stacks of the ship, and it cartwheeled right around the other side of the ship, and it hit the water and it blew up. Didn't hurt. The only thing it hurt on the ship was a guy line that run from the yard arm down to one of the after stacks, and that was all.
Wow, and was that an aircraft carrier? What type, and what kind of,
I was on a destroyer.
it was on a destroyer?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
do you remember the name of that one? You remember the name of that ship?
Yeah, the charrette, that was
The Charette.
Yeah.
And was 58.1, was that a task force you were
That
part
was
of?
a task force,
Okay.
aircraft
Okay, so a
Aircraft
task force
carriers.
considered of an aircraft carrier and some escorts like your destroyer?
Yeah, we would, there would be the aircraft carriers, and there would be the cruisers and the destroyers.
And then what was what was the destroyer's job? To keep planes away from the carrier?
Keep the planes away from the carrier, yeah.
And then this Betty was trying to get you guys?
Well, I think he got hit, and he wasn't trying for the carrier no more. He was gonna get the closest ship there was, and that was us.
Wow.
But they were told to get the big ship, so we really, at times, weren't too worried about it, because
yeah.
we knew where they were going.
Sure, and when you're manning this 40 millimeter gun mount, what side of the ship were you on?
Destroyer.
No, what side of the ship? Were you on the
Oh,
port or
I was
starboard?
on the starboard side.
So that's the right side for those that don't know
Right,
what
right.
starboard is. So, and then how many men were in the 40 millimeter crew with you?
There was the pointer, the trainer, the two first loaders, two second loaders, and then a passer, two passers.
And you said you remember seeing that, you looked up and you saw that Betty coming in,
Yeah.
flying in, and you could see the pilot.
Yeah.
Wow. And anything else about that particular?
No, that was the only thing. That if he hadn't a cartwheel, he'd have wiped us out.
He'd have probably come right
Right at it. He
you.
was coming at us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just let it go with everything you got and try
Well,
to
just
stop
when they
it.
hit him, he whatever he done, that plane just turned sideways and just went over like that.
Funny how things work out,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it wasn't your time to go.
That's right. That's
Wow.
right.
Wow. So how did you stay in touch with your family when you were deployed overseas?
Letter.
By letter? And you sent them off letter? And do you remember, was it regular mail, or was it kind of mail they called V mail, that was kind of shrunk down?
Yeah, it was the mail, and when they got it home, it was all chopped up.
So it was chopped up, and they call that redacting, where somebody crosses through
Yeah,
certain words.
right.
So
Yeah.
some poor sap had to read through everybody's mail and
That's right.
and cross out certain things.
That's right.
And I wonder what kind of things they crossed out. What type of
Oh.
things?
I guess cuss words, or where you're at,
Where you're at,
you're
okay.
at,
Right,
what you're doing, and
right,
how many ships are there, or whatever, you know.
right. And then did you get you got mail from back home, from
Yeah.
your family back home, and were there other family members of yours that were overseas?
Oh yeah, I had cousins and uncles and brother. My brother, he was in the Navy too, and there was quite a few of the family. At that time, everybody was gone, you know.
And all you men folks, so there's quite a heritage in the Lomas family of
Yeah.
serving in the military. Yeah, that's quite a thing. So what was the chow like? Do you remember the chow?
I liked it. A lot of complaints, but I liked it myself.
And was it hot, or was it out of a can, or?
No, that's one thing about the ship. They had hot food all the time. You had a hot shower.
And how do they heat the water for the shower? Do they have a big barrel with a fire in it, or?
No, it was coming through the deal in the engine room. They
Okay.
made fresh water.
On the ship, right?
Yeah, on
Okay,
the ship,
right.
yeah.
Because and of course you're right. That makes fresh water and gets the salt water
Yeah,
out.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the Charette was the name of that ship, and it was a destroyer.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so did you think you had plenty of? And it's funny because we always talk about anything related to food. That's how I can always recall stuff, because if I can remember the food part of it, I'll remember a lot more. So you guys had how many times a day did you guys get to eat? I mean, did you have
We
like?
ate 3 times a day.
Okay.
And then, if you were lucky, you could steal a loaf of bread at night, about midnight.
And then what would you just kind of take chunks of the bread off and eat it that way?
Had a, what would you call it, gun watch.
Okay.
Everybody had a gun watch.
So
4 hours.
during the night, that
During
sometimes.
the night, yeah, even during the day. And you'd sit there, and sometimes you'd go over there, and the baker, he would have to come out on the main deck and walk about, I guess about from here to that wall, and then go inside again on the ship and down and where they put the bread. So before he'd cross a ladder, and guy would stand on that ladder, and when he passed by with the bread, I'd reach over there.
Oh, he had it on a big tray. Oh, and did the guy that was moving it, the cook, did he know they were taking it?
I think he did, but he never said nothing. Yeah,
He was probably happy to help you guys out.
yeah.
And then, so did you, I mean, things, supplies like razor blades or socks
Oh,
or
you could buy
underwear,
that, yeah.
could you get that stuff okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only thing we didn't get, like ice cream and stuff like that. Yeah.
You didn't get
The
ice
bigger
cream?
ships did, but we didn't. Yeah.
Right.
In fact, one time, we picked up on a truck. We picked up a pilot he was shot down, and the tide was taking him in to the island, and there was soldiers waiting there, or we're probably going to shoot him before he got there. So they sent us to try to pick him up, and so they sent us out on the boat. We went in there, we picked him up, brought him back, and what the hell was it?
Like sick bay or,
No, they took him in the officers' quarters, and he asked him, you guys have a guy named Lomas down here? And he says, yeah. He says, can I talk to him? He says, yeah. So they called me, and he says, that pilot you picked up wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. So I went in there, and I figured he was going to say, hey, thanks, or something like that.
Right.
He says, Lomas? I says, yeah. And he looked up at me. Oh, you're not the Lomas I know. And I says, who do you know? And he says, Frank. Because the pilot was from Bakersfield.
oh,
Yeah, I says, Frank. He said, yeah, that's my cousin.
so the guy that he knew was your cousin?
Yeah.
And this was a pilot that you guys went and
Uh-huh,
picked up?
yeah.
So then on the ship, did you guys have a sick bay where you treated
Yeah.
people that got injured?
Yeah. uh-huh.
And did you ever mosey on down there or anything, or you had to kind of
No,
stay away from there?
No.
And so when you weren't manning gun mounts and stuff like that, or working on the boats that you were in charge of, and being a boatswain mate second class, you had other guys that were under you, so you were in charge of other
I had
guys.
guys above me, too.
Okay.
First class boatswain mate.
Sure.
Chief boatswain mate.
And then what would you guys do to kill time? I mean, when you weren't trying to shoot planes out of the sky?
I'd be washing clothes.
Okay. And how did you wash clothes?
I had a bucket with a funnel on the end, and I'd go like that.
And so it was kind of like a washboard sort of thing?
Yeah, yeah. And then we had some guys that take their clothes and they tie them with a rope and throw them out the stern of the ship and let them bounce on the
Oh, yeah.
bambos.
Yep. When I was aboard a ship, they did that with the mops too.
Yeah.
They cleaned them up pretty good. And so did the guys ever lose their clothes when they did that because
Oh,
they came loose?
yeah.
And
But
so
they were lazy.
you'd spend, so in your off time, you'd kind of do that, and what other kind of things would you guys do to entertain yourselves?
Mostly, we'd play records. They had a deal and play records. And
So you had a phonograph there, you could
Yeah,
play it, and so
yeah.
were those like 45s, or were they
No, no,
33
they
and a
were the
third?
big ones,
The
yeah.
big 33 and a third
Yeah,
ones, okay.
yeah.
And so did you guys, being on a ship, you probably didn't ever get to see any USO shows, or they probably didn't come around, or did you get to see some of those? Some of the USO shows?
No.
Okay, okay. And, go ahead.
What I was going to tell you was that another time we picked up an ace.
uh-huh,
He was an ace, Navy. He was supposed to have been the top ace in the Navy, and we picked him up, and we took him back to the aircraft carrier. So before our skipper told us, skipper on the aircraft carrier, you want your ace pilot back? He says, you got to give her some ice cream. So he says, well, I'll do better than that. So we run a boatswain chair, and he sent, I forget, 3 or 4 guys all dressed in white, and they sent ice cream down there, and they had the crew go by, and they were all serving us ice cream.
how fun.
Yeah, so.
So this
and
was
then we
ice
sent-
cream from the carrier?
Yeah, and then they sent, we sent the pilot back. Thanks a lot.
So it was kind of like ransom.
Right.
So,
right.
and this pilot that you were taking over, how did he come to be on your ship? You were picking him, just transporting him, or he got
picked
shot
him up.
down?
Yeah,
or-
we picked up pilots
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
so just transporting him,
back to his ship. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And had he, did something happen to his plane, or it was just,
Well, he got shot down.
so he got shot down and survived?
Yeah.
And I wonder if he parachuted out, or did he just go down and
You know, I
crash
don't
landed?
remember. He probably told us, but I don't remember what.
So he belonged to that aircraft carrier.
Yeah,
And
that
then, and
was-
then I think that's funny that you guys said you can have your pilot, but we need some ice cream.
Yeah, that skipper was always thinking.
And so then they came aboard and served you guys. Wow.
Yeah, now another time, we pulled along that side this ship. They'd just come in from the States. It was a cruiser, if I remember right. And the skipper hollered down to our skipper and says, "What kind of a hooligan navy you guys running down there?" Because we didn't have, the sleeves were rolled up
Oh,
and you know, and the big ships, they want you sleeves down in case of fire.
oh yeah.
Fire.
And you guys had your sleeves up?
Yeah, so he says, the skipper says, he reached over the side and he pointed like that and he says, "See that?" He said, "When you get that, then you can tell us." And this was on the side of the ship.
So this was on the side of your ship? And this showed how many,
Yeah.
how many aircraft and how many ships your ship
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
sunk or shot down. So when he said, when you get that, then you can come tell
Yeah.
us how we're gonna wear our sleeves?
Yeah.
Wow, that's something else. Wow. So it's DD 581 was the designation of your.
Yeah, that's
of the-
charrette,
Of the
yeah.
charrette. And it looks like it's, and I see by the shadow of that, that's quite a armament.
And that black ship, that's the one we captured.
So you guys captured this one that was the Tachibana Maru,
Yeah.
and that was one that surrendered to your ship?
No, we boarded it. Well,
So you had a crew that went aboard?
yeah, that was, the
Their
crew was, I think, you have the picture of the crew? Oh, it's,
Oh, that's the one here that was,
Yeah.
that was depicted in what year, what month is it? When did you tell me again, Mary? This is I think it's July, 2005, Leatherneck Magazine. There he goes. Oh, excuse me, August of 2007. It's the magazine of the Marines.
Yeah.
And it tells the whole story about the untold story of the capture of the Japanese ship Tachibana Maru. And you were a part of that.
I was part of that, yeah.
And so what do you remember about that particular
Well,
that particular time?
when we got aboard the ship, well, I forget where we were at, and they told us that we were going to get Marines aboard. There were 20 Marines, and then our sister ship, the Connors, they were going to get 20 Marines. But that's all they told us. So they come aboard, and then everybody wondered what was going on, like they always do. You know, everybody wants.
Scuttlebutt.
Yeah, scuttlebutt. So anyhow, when we got going, then they told us that we were gonna go and capture a ship on the high seas. And if they got contraband, then we can send for the Marines, and then they'll help us guard it. So that morning that we captured the ship, early one morning, we got on the boat, and there was 10 of us enlisted men, and there was 2 officers. One's an interpreter, and the other was in charge of us. And so the ship sent over a message telling them they had to stand by because we were going to board them.
Prepare to be boarded.
Yeah, and so they did, and we boarded it. And my station, they put me on the bow of the ship. That's where I was.
Of your ship or the
No,
captured
on
ship?
the Jap ship. They put me on the bow, and that was where I was supposed to stand. And if there was contraband and they thought the officers were going to try to get out of the officers' quarters, I was supposed to tell them no, you know.
Oh,
'Cause we weren't allowed to carry no guns on there either. you
okay.
know. So anyhow, they went in, and then our password, if there was any contraband, was Mickey Finn.
Mickey Finn.
Yeah, that was the password.
That was the password.
So next thing I knew, I heard Mickey Finn. I thought, oh God. Then I got scared.
And so what did that mean?
That
What did
means-
that mean if they found contraband? What did that
That
mean?
means that they found guns and hand grenades and whatever, you know.
So it wasn't just a passenger ship.
No,
They were transporting,
It was supposed to have been a hospital ship,
right.
but it wasn't a hospital ship.
So
It was painted like a hospital ship.
So it was painted up like a hospital
Yeah.
ship, and it was used to transport
Right,
ammunition
right.
and weapons.
Right, and they used the troops. There was 1,600 and something troops on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
1,600 Japanese soldiers, and did you see any of them?
Oh, yeah.
While there, were on there?
Yeah.
And did they make eye contact with you when
Yeah.
you were there?
But they were, I think they were so tired of fighting that they didn't give a damn anymore.
Yeah, because this was August 1945, so this was just days before the
Right.
dropping
Well,
of the H bomb.
That's why you never heard of it, because that news commentator from International News,
Mm-hmm.
he says, if the war hadn't ended, he says, boy, that'd have been big news. But
Oh yeah,
I said, well, I'm glad the war ended.
Right.
Hell with the news.
because and news traveled slow back then, because it
Yeah.
wasn't like today where you read it on the internet
Right.
within
Well,
seconds.
yeah.
So this was August 3rd, 1945, and I think it was something like 10 August that the A bomb
The
was
war
dropped.
ended, yeah.
Yeah. And then were there any Americans on that ship, or were they all Japanese?
We're all Japanese.
But the Tachibana Maru, I know, held special significance because at one point the Japanese used that to take American civilians off of Wake Island when they captured them, and then they later converted it to
I didn't
take
know
these
that.
children. Yeah, it's had an interesting history. So most of these guys, you think their fight was pretty much already done because they were
Yeah.
about sick of, they'd been sent off
They
to
weren't
war.
sick or nothing. They marched off that ship just.
And
when
so,
we
so
took
they
them.
didn't never really make any threatening moves to you
No,
guys or
no,
anything like that.
no.
They were probably just happy to have to not
Probably
be
figured,
listening.
well, we're
to-
gonna get to eat now.
get to eat, and they weren't going to have to go go into battle
Yeah.
because things were the tide was kind of turning pretty badly for them about
Oh,
that.
yeah,
point.
the war was just about over with then,
And they were probably wanting to get back to their families,
Probably, yeah.
because a lot of them had been away
Didn't
from
want
their
to get killed.
right. And just like you guys have been away from your families
Yeah.
for many,
we,
many years.
We was, all the time I was over there, I only come back twice. Once when we come back from 13, and another time when we come back to get the ship repaired, our rifling on the guns.
Oh.
They were so wore out that when the shells would go out, they'd go boom, 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 boom.
So it kind of rattled down the tubes of the 40 millimeter.
No, on the 5-inch.
On the big 5-inch
Yeah,
guns.
yeah.
Wow. And did so when you were, one of the things I'm wondering, you have quite a few things of memorabilia, just like this thing here that has your name on it with the USS Charette. And so over the years, did you end up with some photographs that you had from back
We
then?
weren't allowed to have cameras then
Okay.
in World War II.
And so did you ever keep like a journal or a diary or anything like that?
I didn't have to. This is the ship here.
So this is the Charette?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a handsome vessel. So this is, wow, that's interesting. So in its day, that was quite the ship. So, so then now we're near the end of the war. So what do you remember then, when at what point, where were you when you heard that, like the A bomb got dropped on Hiroshima or Nagasaki, or how did news spread of that on where you were at?
I don't remember.
Or even the end of the war.
Yeah.
Because the end of the war was not long after that.
Yeah. We had just dropped off these guys.
These prisoners?
Yeah, we just dropped them off at, I can't remember the island.
So it was somewhere between Guadalcanal and Hawaii, there was an island?
Way the other side of the ocean.
Okay.
This is up there around Okinawa and then.
Oh, okay, okay.
And they said it one morning. They broadcasted that they had bombed
Right,
Iwo Jima, and, well, they still hadn't given up
right,
until the second time.
right. Yeah, because the Japanese continued to fight until
Right.
the bomb was dropped on
So
Nagasaki.
then they finally said that the war was over, and then we said, "Oh, good, maybe we'll go home." The next thing we knew was said, "Well, you guys are going to China." So we went to China from when the war ended.
So after the war, then
Yeah.
your ship went to China?
Yeah.
So do you remember the port that you went into in China? Do you even
No,
remember?
we went to Shanghai.
You went to Shanghai in
You got to
China.
go up a river called called Yangtze River.
The Yangtze River, yeah.
And you go up that river, and it's not too damn wide either, you know.
And this was the charrette you were on going up there.
Yeah.
And so, and then what was the ship's responsibility to do in China? What duty were you there to do?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
And you guys kind of went through your usual jobs of being taking care of the boats?
Oh, yeah, we just took in the mornings, my job was to look out there. In China, what they done, if you died, they'd put the body on the corner, and then the first person like turned the corner and didn't see it and hit it, you had to bury it.
You know, on the
either
streets?
That, or they would take the body and they would take it out there on a bumboat and they would tie it to the anchor of the ship. And then we had to bury it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So these were these war casualties, people that were on the street,
No,
or just
I
people
don't
that
think
just
so, no.
died from various diseases or
probably,
stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
And so do you remember how long did you guys have to stay there in Shanghai?
I always stayed there a couple of months, I think.
You were there a couple of months, and then,
Then from there we went to Japan.
okay.
We was just there a couple of days, then we went to Pearl Harbor,
And do you remember where in Japan you pulled into?
Sasebo Bay.
Sasebo Bay.
It was a Navy base.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that was probably like in October or November of 1945 that you were?
around November.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember anything about that? I mean, was it cold, or do you remember much about it?
I don't remember too much.
Did you guys get to go ashore at all, or?
No.
Okay, you had to stay on the ship?
No, we stayed on the ship. Same with when we got to Pearl Harbor, they wouldn't let us go ashore either.
Okay, so after Japan, you went to Pearl Harbor, and you had to stay on the ship also?
Yeah.
And so then what happened after
Then
Pearl?
we went to San Francisco.
Okay, so then you went, so what time, do you remember what time of the year you guys finally got to San Francisco? Was it the end of 45 or beginning of 46?
No, it's the end of 45.
So like December or so, or November, December of 45?
No, that was around November, I think.
Okay, and then you guys got to San Francisco, and did you get to get off the ship then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you get some liberty finally?
Yeah, we got Liberty, and that's when I seen a couple of guys that were on that Johnston, and they were the ones that told me that this kid we were together.
That you went to
That
boot
got
camp
killed,
through,
yeah.
went through boot camp with?
Yeah.
And then he had got killed? Uh-huh. And was what kind of ship was the Johnston?
It was a destroyer.
Like yours?
Yeah.
Okay. And so then you got to San Francisco in late 45, and then how much longer did you stay in until you got out of the Navy?
From Frisco, we went to San Diego, to decommission the ship. And we decommissioned it. And that's when I got out of the Navy.
Okay. And so that was in 46 or so that you got out?
I got out December the 1st of 46.
So it's not like you don't remember the date. You remember that date exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
And were you happy to get out?
I don't know. I can't remember whether we were
Yeah.
happy or not.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember before I got out was we was all at the boot camp,
Right.
and they were boot camp. There was new guys that were coming in the Navy, and they're all.
So here's all the new guys, and here are all you old salts. that
Yeah,
come
we
ashore.
was all over there lined up to eat, you know. And them guys are marching and standing stiff, and we was all out there hunchback and didn't give a damn. And they got mad, and they told us, you guys are either gonna have to march in there, or you guys are gonna have to come in and eat early or something. He said, because you guys.
They don't want you mingling with these
Yeah.
guys.
You guys are making a bad impression.
So these were boots that were
Yeah.
going through basic training.
Yeah.
And then, so what did you do then when you had Liberty? What kind of stuff did you guys do when you got to have Liberty?
No, like me, we went to a bar, drank, and I like to dance, so we danced.
And that was out in town in San Francisco?
No, that was right in town there.
Or here? Or in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so,
San Diego too.
in San Diego. And was it San Diego that the ship was decommissioned? Okay, and the boot camp is right there in San Diego too.
Yeah, right.
So you went out into some of the bars and went dancing, and they had some of the lounges and that kind of stuff. And so, everybody behaved themselves when you went out dancing?
Well, I don't know about that.
Okay. And then how long after that did you come back, and did you come back to Kern County?
Yeah.
After that, okay.
Yeah, come
And
back.
then, so, and was that, did you drive a car, did you take a bus, or take a train, or
I hitchhiked.
you hitchhiked?
Yeah.
On like cars or trucks, or?
Yeah, I mean, anything to pick me up.
And back then, of course, it was a different time, and these guys saw, did you wear your uniform?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you wore your Cracker Jack?
Yeah.
And then somebody picked you up and took you a little ways, and then you kind of made it home, and did you have like a sea bag with you or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had all your stuff in it from,
Yeah. Well, in them days, they were picking up servicemen too,
yeah, yeah, and the people were nice to you.
They'd tell you, pick up a serviceman, something
Okay,
like that, yeah.
okay. And so then, it's not like today where we have instant communication. Did your family know you were coming home?
No.
Okay. So it was kind of a surprise to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And so who, when you got home, who was home when you got home?
Nobody.
Okay.
Nobody.
So you were gonna walk up and then like, here I am, and there wasn't anybody there?
Nobody there.
But were people out in town, or
No, they
just-
were working.
They were working,
Yeah,
okay.
no.
They were, so this was like a weekday or a weekend, or do you remember?
It was, I don't remember. I think it was a weekend.
So you got there and they were out working, and so did you do something until they got home? Did you just kind of hang around until they got home?
There was a bar down the street. I went over there and drank a couple of beers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went home, and then everybody saw you.
Oh, yeah,
So
it was all that.
who was that you saw? Which of your family did you get to see when you got home?
My mother, yeah.
And I'm sure she was glad to see you.
Yeah.
She was glad to see you at that point. And so when you got back to Bakersfield, did you what did you do then?
Went to work,
Where did you go to work?
Kern Valley Packing Company, meat packing.
And then where was that? Where was that located?
Yeah, here on 8th Street.
Okay, and there was like a slaughterhouse?
Yeah,
Okay. And it was beef?
yeah.
Was it beef?
Beef,
Okay.
hogs, sheep.
And so did you ever stay in touch with any of the people that you were in the service with? Okay. You ever join any like veterans organizations or anything like that afterwards? And so, how long did you, after you got out and you went into the meat packing business, how long did you stay doing that? How many years did you do that?
43.
43? So, wow. You did that up until like the 1980s or so?
Something like that, yeah.
Wow. And what do you, how do you think your career and your experiences in the war affected your thinking about the military in general and just kind of your view on life?
Well, I've always said that when a kid graduates from high school, they should put him in the service.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, if I hadn't went in the service, there ain't no telling where I would have went.
Yeah.
But I went in the service
And I hear that a lot. I hear that same thing a lot. So, and why? And I think I know why that is. But for the camera's purpose, those listening, why do you think that is?
well, the kids today, they're out of control.
So so do you think what advantage do you think that it gave you being in the military? What do you think? Or even today for a kid?
They learn what responsibility is, and they learn that they have to take orders. Where right now they don't take orders, not even from their family.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't get to do what you want to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that service teaches you.
Yeah. And I'm confident that all that training and that discipline and that responsibility helped you as a meat packer over the
It
years.
helps you for anything.
And it helped you in life in general, as you say.
right,
And
that's right.
you don't find too many people that stick with a job for 43 years.
Well, they treated me good. And I've done everything. From the killing floor. I went from the killing floor to the kitchen making sausage, driving truck, and cutting meat. And the last few years I was a supervisor in a meat cutting plant. Yeah.
Wow. And so let me go back just for a moment. Went back when you served overseas on the Charette. did you receive any particular, like citations or medals that you're authorized to wear? And
Let's see that sheet there, give it to him, the one with the stars.
Okay. Okay, so, the occupation of the Gilbert Islands from the period, the Bismarck Archipelago operation, air attacks. So there are, you got different stars
That's
on.
a star for each combat.
Okay, and so do you remember, so do you still have some of the medals that you got back then?
No.
Okay. Yeah, this is quite a, this reads like, this is quite an extensive career of commendations. There's about 11 of them or more, all the way from what we
12.
talked about. Yeah, to the Marshall Islands and submarine attack and Asiatic Pacific, New Guinea operation, and the occupation of Leyte Gulf. That was a big thing a lot of people know. The Philippines, the Second Battle of the Philippines, the Battle of Guadalcanal, and the Marianas operations, including Saipan, Tinian, Guam, Battle of Philippine Sea, fourth raids on the Bon Ends, and the capture and occupation of Palau and Yap. And not to mention the ship
Yeah.
that you guys captured.
And we were also the first ship to bombard Iwo Jima. About a week or two before the invasion, they sent us in to bomb it to see if we'd get retaliation, to see how many guns was in there.
So did you, okay, let's go back to that for a moment. So during the Battle of Iwo Jima, your ship, the Charette,
Yeah.
when it went off the coast of Iwo Jima, the island of Iwo Jima, which later the Marines landed on, and your job, your mission, your ship's mission was to bombard Iwo Jima to see if you got any, see if you
Right.
took fire from them, and did you?
Yeah, we, at first we didn't, but the closer we got and the closer, and finally we got pretty close, and then we started getting.
And what type of fire, or was it small arms
Well,
fire?
there was only, I said 3 or 4 different spots that
Okay,
they bombarded.
okay.
They bombarded us. And I think the closest shell that hit us, that come to us, was about from here to that door there.
That's
Other
still,
than that, the others were all,
and that's pretty close though. And,
No,
and,
not
and,
really.
and the weaponry you guys used on yours were the 5-inch guns?
yeah.
And so they had an explosive warhead when it was like an artillery piece, so it would hit and you guys were trying to, and of course their bunkers on Iwo Jima were pretty well
everything's
dug
a
in.
hill. Yeah, everything's buried
Right.
in a hill. But then, the next time that the invasion force landed,
And Shaw Bay was one that he happened to serve on,
Yeah.
and it was at the Battle of Leyte
no,
Gulf.
these were big carriers that we were
Okay.
on with.
Okay, and they had different naval aircraft on them, the fighter bombers and things like that.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time?
I think it's been about 45 minutes.
Okay, we've still got some time. So, are we still okay for a little bit then? Or we need to wrap it? Okay, so we got maybe about 8 or 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Al, I want to go a little bit more on, so of these different ones, and of course the bombardment of Iwo Jima, and that was, those are all significant battles in the United States winning the Pacific campaign, and ultimately leading to where we tried to get, Iwo Jima was going to be a place where the big B-29s could land
Yeah.
on their way back
Right,
from
right,
bombing
yeah.
Japan. So when you, so are any of your younger family members that you know, or let me go back a little bit. Like your uncle and cousin and brother, they served in World War II as well. And have any of them or anybody ever tell you about the World War II memorial that we're going to
No.
go see? It's very well done, and it's you'll like it. It's a fitting commemoration to men like you that our nation owes a huge debt to for the service that you provided and the protection you provided us as a nation. And I think you'll like it a lot, and I think you'll find it to be very, very well done. One of the misconceptions that some people have is that there are names actually engraved of the fallen on the monument, and they're not. There's a lot of cool quotes on there. It's a very well done monument. It's gorgeous, very handsome. But one of the things I think you'll find interesting when we get back there, and I'm anxious to have you look at it, and it's very very sobering. And there's a huge field of stars, and on this field of stars, and the stars are all about that big. They're gold stars, and on this huge wall of stars, there's 4,000 stars, and each one of those gold stars represents 100 American casualties. So there's over 400,000 Americans that died, and we're glad that you're one of the ones that survived, and you had plenty of your friends and shipmates and comrades that didn't make it. But we're glad that you're going to make it, and we're glad that you're going to get a chance to see it. And
Yeah, I want to see it.
yeah, and and if we get an opportunity, and if time allows, we hope to go downtown and see the Navy Memorial, and it's very nice. It's very well done, and it depicts different types of. I mean, everybody like yourself and others had different jobs, and whether they served on a ship or on shore or in the air or whatever. There's different things that you can see that commemorate those areas of service that you provided. Whether it's the Atlantic or the Pacific, and all the different people from all the different states and territories that served. So yeah, it's quite the trip, and there's people that go there to see that, and there'll be people. You're going to be a living, breathing piece of history when we set foot on the grounds of the monument, and you need to be aware that there's going to be total strangers that are going to be just enamored to see you, and maybe they had a family member that served in World War II like myself. My dad served but has passed away and never got to see it. But you're going to be, to them, you're going to represent their family member when they see you. It's going to be very emotional for a lot of them, and I suspect it may be emotional for some of our vets like yourself. But it's something that you'll never forget. It's just an incredible opportunity, and we're so glad that we get the chance to go back there with you, and you and all the other guys too. So anything else I haven't covered that you think we ought to cover in the next few minutes?
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right, anything else?
No, I think
Okay.
you covered them all.
Gary, anything you can think of that I haven't covered? Well, Al, I want to thank you for everything, and particularly want to thank you for your service and your dedication, and for the leadership you provided for us, that you carried the torch for all those years, and for those of us now that have to continue to carry that torch of freedom, and we're grateful. So thanks. Okay. Well, we'll find our camera guy, or can you shut us down, and we'll be good to go.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's good.